California to do so?
We're going to object, Mr. Chairman, to any call for privileged conversations between counsel and Dr. Ford.
Could you validate the fact that the offer was made without her saying a word?
Is it possible for that question to be answered without violating any consul relationships?
Can I say something to you? Do you mind if I say something to you directly?
Yeah.
I just appreciate that you did offer that. I wasn't clear on what the offer was. If you were going to come out to see me, I would have happily hosted you and had been happy to speak with you out there. I just did not. It wasn't clear to me that that was the case.
Okay. Does that take care of your question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Proceed then.
Before July 30th, the date on your letter to Senator Feinstein, had you retained counsel with regard to these allegations?
No, I didn't understand why I would need lawyers, actually. So I just didn't have.
A lot of people have that feeling. Let's talk about the letter that you wrote on July 30th. You asked Senator Feinstein to maintain confidentiality, quote, until...
Wait until she retrieves it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to look for it. Which
2
one?
minutes, I think it's
Okay.
So stop the clock, will you?
in there someplace. Here.
Oh, I found it. Sorry.
Okay. You asked Senator Feinstein to maintain confidentiality until we have had further opportunity to speak, and then said you were available to speak further, vacationing in the Mid-Atlantic until August 7th. Is that correct?
Oh, the last line, is that what you're, I'm now just catching up with you. Sorry, I'm a little slower. My mind is getting a little tired. I am available to speak further should you wish to discuss. Yes, I was in Delaware until August 7th.
Okay.
And after that, I went to New Hampshire and then back to California.
Did you talk with anybody about this letter before you sent it?
I talked with Anna Eshu's office.
Okay. And why did you talk to Congresswoman Eshu's office about that letter?
Because they were willing to hand deliver it to Senator Feinstein.
Okay. Did anyone help you write the letter?
No.
Okay. After you sent your letter, did you or anyone on your behalf speak to Senator Feinstein personally or with any Senate staffer?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a phone call with Senator Feinstein.
Okay, and when was that?
That was while I was still in Delaware, so before August 7th.
Okay. And how many times did you speak with Senator Feinstein?
Once.
Okay. What did you talk about?
She asked me some questions about the incident,
Okay.
and I answered those questions.
Okay. Was that the extent of the gist of the conversation?
Yes, it was a fairly brief phone call.
Okay. Did you ever give Senator Feinstein or anyone else the permission to release that letter?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. Between the letter date, July 30th, and August the 7th, did you speak with any other person about your allegations?
Could you say the dates again?
Between the letter date of July 30th and August 7th, so while you were still in Delaware, did you speak with any other person about your allegations?
I'm just trying to remember what dates that,
Stop the.
You're asking her with the
Yeah,
inclusion
stop.
of any lawyers
Stop the
you
clock.
may have spoken with, correct?
Correct.
correct. I think correct then. I was interviewing lawyers, but I was not
Okay.
speaking personally about it.
Aside from lawyers that you were seeking to possibly hire to represent you, did you speak to anybody else about it during that period of time?
No.
Okay.
I was staying with my parents at the time.
Did you talk to them about it?
Definitely not.
Okay. So, would it be fair to say that you retained counsel during that time period of July 30th to August 7th?
I can't remember the exact date, but it was I was interviewing lawyers during that period of time, sitting in the car in the driveway and in the Walgreens parking lot in Rehoboth, Delaware, and trying to figure out how the whole system works of interviewing lawyers and how to pick one, etc. So
You testified earlier that you had, you didn't see the need for lawyers, and now you're trying to hire them. What made you change your mind?
it seemed like most of the individuals that I had told, which didn't, the total was not very high, but those persons advised me to, at this point, get a lawyer for advice about whether to push forward or to stay back.
Did that include Congresswoman Eshoo and Senator Feinstein?
No.
I want to thank Dr. Ford for what you said about acknowledging that we had said we'd come to California. Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Ms.
Okay, so there, I don't know if you caught it or not. I didn't catch it the first time, but she testified to not having talked to anyone other than lawyers regarding the situation, and they gave her a time frame in which they were talking about, and she said, no, I didn't talk to anyone other than my lawyers, and then kind of turned back and kind of mentioned the people she was talking to other than her lawyers that advised her to get the lawyers. So clearly she contradicted herself, even in that little bit. You might have to replay it yourself to catch it, but she did. So anyway, gonna go forward.
Thank you. And we've heard this morning several times that you did take a polygraph, and that was on August the 7th. Is that right?
I believe so. It was the day I was flying from BWI to Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay. Why did you decide to take a polygraph?
I didn't see any reason not to do it.
Were you advised to do that?
Again, you're seeming to call for communications between counsel and client. I don't think you mean to do that. If you do, she shouldn't have to answer that.
Could you let her answer the extent to which she doesn't violate the
Attorney-client
relationship between you
privilege.
and Dr. Ford?
Say what you understood.
Based on the advice of the counsel, I was happy to undergo the polygraph test, although I found it extremely stressful. Much longer than I anticipated. I told my whole life story, I felt like, but I endured it. It was fine.
I understand they can be that way.
I apologize. Button it again. I've actually done the research on her polygraph test, and just to let you know, her polygraph test was a little bit different than usual. Normally with polygraph test, they ask you a line of questions to kind of get a baseline for your emotions, I guess, how you're feeling when you answer questions truthfully, and then they'll ask you something that really gets to the crux of the matter to determine if you increase in stress. For Dr. Ford's, what she did was she had 2 questions in her polygraph test. She had a written statement, and then the 2 questions they asked essentially was whether or not she was being deceptive was one of the questions, and I forget what the second question was. So for the lie detector test, I don't really see, at least it's documented that there was no reason for her to give a life story, but anyhow, you can look that up for yourself. That information is readily available. Moving right along.
Have you ever taken any other polygraphs in your life?
Never.
Okay. You went to see a gentleman by the name of Jeremiah Hanifin to serve as the polygrapher. Did anyone advise you on that choice?
Yes, I believe his name was Jerry.
Jerry Hannafin.
Yeah.
Okay. Did anyone advise you on that choice?
Don't understand that. Yeah, I didn't choose him myself. He was the person that came to do the polygraph test.
Okay. He actually conducted the polygraph not in his office in Virginia, but actually at the hotel next to Baltimore Washington Airport. Is that right?
Correct.
Why was that location chosen for the polygraph?
I had left my grandmother's funeral at the Fort Lincoln Cemetery that day and was on tight schedule to get a plane to Manchester, New Hampshire. So he was willing to come to me, which was appreciated.
So he administered a polygraph on the day that you attended your grandmother's funeral?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Or it might have been the next day. I spent the night in the hotel, so I don't remember the exact day.
Have you ever had discussions with anyone besides your attorneys on how to take a polygraph?
Never.
And I don't just mean countermeasures, but I mean just any sort of tips or anything like that.
No, I was scared of the test itself, but was comfortable that I could tell the information and the test would reveal whatever it was going to reveal. I didn't expect it to be as long as it was going to be, so it was a little bit stressful.
Have you ever given tips or advice to somebody who was looking to take a polygraph test?
Never.
Did you pay for the polygraph yourself?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you know who did pay for the polygraph?
Not yet, no.
Did you have the handwritten statement that you wrote out? Did anyone assist you in writing that statement?
No, but you can tell how anxious I was by the terrible handwriting.
Did you, we touched on it earlier, did you know that the committee has requested not only the charts from the polygraph test, but also any audio or video recording of the polygraph test?
No.
Were you audio and video recorded when you were taking that test?
Okay, so I remember being hooked up to a machine, like being placed onto my body and being asked a lot of questions and crying a lot. That's my primary memory of that test. I don't know. I know he took laborious detail into explaining what he was going to be doing, but I was just focused on kind of what I was going to say and my fear about that. I wasn't listening to every detail about whether it was audio or video recorded.
Well, you were in a hotel room, right?
Correct.
Regular hotel room with a bed and bathroom?
No. It was a conference room. So I was sitting at a chair and he was behind me.
Did you note any cameras in the room?
Well, he had a computer set up, so I guess I assumed that he was somehow taping and recording me.
Okay, so you assumed you were being video and audio recorded,
Correct.
but you don't know for sure.
I don't know for sure.
Okay, thank you.
We're
Okay, so we chime back in. Just to let you know where they are now. I believe Dr. Ford has been asked a financial question as to, if she's gotten any money, raised any money based on these allegations or something to that effect. So that's where we pick up at it from this point. So here we go.
GoFundMe sites that have raised money primarily for our security detail. So I'm not even quite sure how to collect that money and how to distribute it yet. I haven't been able to focus on that.
Okay.
My apologies. She was asked how she was able to afford, the lawyers and so on and so forth, because I believe she indicated she's currently not working. And the lawyers, I believe, have indicated that they were working pro bono. So she's not actually charged specifically for this. They're working it kind of at their own behest. So anyway, here we go.
In your testimony this morning, you stated that Senator Feinstein sent you a letter on August 31st of this year. Is that right?
August 31st. Let me see. I sent her a letter on July 30th. And I don't have the date. I'd have to pull up my email to find out the date of her email to me saying that it was right before the hearings that she was going to maintain the confidentiality of the letter.
Say that again. It was till right before the hearings.
That's my memory, but I can look it up for you if you would like the exact date. I could pull it up on my email.
Oh, yeah, I want to make sure. I want to make sure I understood what you said.
That document's been turned over to, in response to a request for documents. You have it.
Thank you, counsel. I want to make sure I understood what you said. Was it your understanding it was going to be kept confidential up until right before the hearing?
It was my understanding that it was going to be kept confidential. Period.
Period. Okay. Between your polygraph on August the 7th and your receipt of the letter from Senator Feinstein, did you or anyone on your behalf speak to any member of Congress or congressional staff about these allegations?
I personally did not.
So my question was, did you or anybody on your behalf?
What do you mean? Did someone speak for me?
Somebody that is working with you or helping you, did somebody at your behest, on your behalf, speak to somebody in Congress or staff?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how those exchanges went, but I didn't speak to anyone.
Okay. Is it possible that somebody did?
I think so. It would be possible. I'm guessing it would be possible, but I don't know.
Okay.
You've asked her not to guess, and now you're asking her what's possible. So I think if you want to ask her what she knows, you should ask her what she knows.
Is that an objection, counsel?
It is.
I'll have the chair rule on that.
I don't know what I don't understand.
What they're trying to do again is just to verify or show that she may be a political operative, because of course she's working with the Democrats in regards to getting this word out. A little side note on this. In her testimony, she just admitted that it was understood between her and Dianne Feinstein that, or Feinstein, whichever way you want to pronounce it, that she would remain confidential until the time of the hearing. And then she went and she corrected herself and she said, nope, I understood it to mean that I was going to remain confidential. The interesting side of that is she pretty much remained confidential, and her identity really was not known until the time of the hearing. So what she said and alleged was to be the case is actually what happened. So, trying to put the genie back in the bottle when she says, well, I thought it was supposed to be, kept a secret or what have you. No one was supposed to know, blah, 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 blah. They were supposed to keep my identity and all of that private. So kind of told on herself a little bit on that. Might point to Democratic operative, whatever. But anyway, here we go.
Unless there's a legal reason for not answering it, on advice of your counsel.
So I don't totally understand the question, but I didn't speak with anyone during that time frame other than my counsel.
Okay. You've said repeatedly that you did not think that letter that you wrote on July 30th was going to be released to the public. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is it true that you did not authorize it to be released at any time?
Correct.
Besides your attorneys, did you provided that letter to Senator Feinstein, is that correct?
I provided her a letter on July 30th.
We're talking about the July 30th letter.
Okay.
You provided that letter to Senator Feinstein, correct? Is that a yes?
Yes.
And you provided the letter to Representative Eshoo to deliver to Senator Feinstein.
Yes.
Besides those two individuals, Representative Eshoo and Senator Feinstein, and your attorneys, did you provide that letter to anyone else?
No.
Do you know how that letter became public?
No.
After that letter was made public or leaked, did you reach back out to the Washington Post?
I reached out to the Washington, well, they were continuously reaching out to me, and I was not responding. But the time that I did respond and agree to do the sit down was once the reporters started showing up at my home and at my workplace.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Ford, in choosing attorneys, did anyone help you with the choice on who to choose?
Various people referred me to lawyers that they knew in the Washington, D.C. area. So as you know, I grew up in this area, so I asked some family members and friends, and they referred me to like divorce attorneys that might know somebody that might know somebody, and I ended up interviewing several law firms from the D.C. area.
And did anybody besides friends and family refer you to any attorneys?
I think that the staff of Dianne Feinstein's office suggested the possibility of some attorneys.
Okay. Including the two that are sitting on either side of you?
Not both of them, no.
Okay. We've heard a lot about FBI investigations. When did you personally first request an FBI investigation?
How many weeks ago? I guess when we first started talking about the possibility of a hearing, I was hoping that there would be a more thorough investigation.
Would that investigation have been something that you would have submitted to an interview?
I would be happy to cooperate with the FBI, yes.
Would you have been happy to submit to an interview by staff members from this committee?
Absolutely.
Besides, you mentioned some GoFundMe accounts. Besides those, are there any other efforts outside of your own personal finances to pay for your legal fees or any of the costs incurred?
It's my understanding that some of my team is working on a pro bono basis, but I don't know the exact details, and there are members of the community in Palo Alto that have the means to contribute to help me with the security detail, etc.
Have you been provided?
I agree with that. Both Kirk Council are doing this pro bono. We are not being paid, and we have no expectation of being paid.
Thank you, Counsel. Have you seen any of the questions that I was going to ask you today?
No.
You've been asked a few questions by other people as well. Have you seen any of those questions in advance?
No.
Have you been told them in advance?
No.
And likewise with my questions, have you been told my questions in advance?
Definitely not.
Okay. You mentioned about some possible information, such as when Mark Judge worked at the supermarket. I want to ask you about someone else. You mentioned that there was a classmate who was really sort of the connection between you and Brett Kavanaugh. Who was this person?
I think that case with Mr. Whalen, who was looking at my LinkedIn page and then trying to blame the person, I just don't feel like it's right for us to be talking about that.
I'm not trying to blame anybody. I just want to know who the common friend that you and
The person that Mr. Whalen was trying to say looked like Mr. Kavanaugh.
okay. How long did you know this person?
Maybe for a couple of months we socialized, but he also was a member of the same country club, and I knew his younger brother as well.
Okay. So a couple months before this took place?
Yes.
Okay. How would you characterize your relationship with him both before and after this took place, this person?
He was somebody that we used the phrase I went out with. I wouldn't say date. I went out with for a few months.